Welcome to Sacred Magic. Violet is on a quest to bring sacredness back into our everyday experiences. Anyone can have an extraordinary life when they are able to tap into their sacred magic within. Violet and her guests will be sharing their divine passions, inspirations, and stories of connecting with their sacred magic. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Vialet Rayne.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sacred Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Vialet B Rayne. My guest today is Brandi Van. She's a pet communicator with a deep passion for giving animals the voice they've always deserved. Through her intuitive pet psychic readings and animal psychic readings, she helps pets express their thoughts, emotions, and needs, delivering their loving messages to their human companions. Whether they're with us in the physical world or in spirit, she creates a space where pets can finally be heard and understood, strengthening the bond with their pet parents. Now, I understand how important that is because I've had several pets in my life. Let's just get real. I've had several pets in my life. Until recently, the last 10 years, I haven't. But there was one that was super special to me that I still will shed a tear. And it's been over 10 years that I miss him so much. So I can understand how people would want to communicate with their pets because we get so close, they become family members. And some become even closer than that, like my Max was my heart space. And he was the first dog I ever really had. And I'd always had cats, and he has a real special place in my heart and will always. So I think we've had several lifetimes together, probably. That's how close we were. Just like people, we have closeness too. So, Brandi, what took you down this path to be a pet communicator? Did you wake up one day and know that you needed to do this, or have you had it all your life? Share your story with us.
Sure. Well, first, thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate you. So, I was always a medium, and so I was always talking to people who had passed away, like humans. And then, as I was on that path, I also became a psychic mentor where I help other people develop their psychic gifts. And something just kept calling to me because I have 3 dogs of my own. And I kept thinking, like, I think I know what they want. Like, I think I know what they're saying. So that kind of piqued my interest. And I love animals so much, any animal, any kind. So I took a class from Nikki Vasconez. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's an international, well-renowned animal communicator. And it was only a 1-month class, but you could take it for as many months as you wanted. And I was only in it for like, I don't know, maybe not even a week. And I was able to communicate with the pets. So I think it was just like I already had that part of my brain open and I just kind of had to change the channel and there it went. So then I was able to communicate with animals very easily. So yeah, I still do mediumship readings. I still do the psychic mentorship program, but the pets, whether they're alive or have passed away, it's just such a passion of mine to be able to speak with them. It's such a blessing.
I love that. I love that. So, talk to us a little bit about how pets try to communicate with us. What are some of the patterns that you've seen throughout your experience that might help others that have pets today?
Sure. So they're always speaking to us energetically. And just like with ourselves, whenever you want to, tune into your intuition, you really have to like calm yourself, maybe get into that meditative state, just where you're like not as busy and, you're not thinking of like the 800 tasks that you have to do. But when you can really calm yourself and maybe even just sit next to your pet and really tune in, you start to pay attention to your senses, right? Like your clair senses. What are you hearing? What are you feeling, seeing? And if you can even get the subtlest little message, you want to hang on to that because their messages are very subtle. It's not like they're going to give you this huge message that comes across. But when you can really calm your mind and just maybe even ask them a question, usually in your mind, that's how they communicate is telepathically. So you want to ask the question in your mind and then see what the answer is and see what you feel or what comes across. but mostly they're going to give it through an emotion. They're going to give it through a behavior. They're going to try to show you in some way that what they're trying to get across, if that makes sense.
No, I love that. Do you find that we have contracts with these pets, that they come into our lives for specific purposes, just like our contracts with human relationships? Do you find that we have contracts with our pets as well?
I find that we do, but not with every pet that we've had. So I think there's one pet in particular that was there with your past lives, that will be there with your future lives. That's your soul contract pet. But not all of them are. So I know some people get really upset when I say that, but it's just in my experience in the readings that I've done that it seems like not every single pet is your soul pet. So yeah, I think it's just like with humans, right? Not everyone that you meet is your soulmate. So I think it's the same concept there.
Oh, and that makes great sense. But do we have pets that come in like teachers or healers or guides to come and help us for different reasons? Because we have these soul contracts with people that are very deep, but we also have contracts where people are triggering us, where they're guiding us through a rough time, or there's some kind of healing that happens. Do you find that in the pets as well?
Absolutely. I think their purpose here really is their purpose is to love us and not judge us and to be our little, best friend. But in that, they are such teachers and they're such healers. As you said, a lot of people might even love their pet or have a different amazing bond than they do with any other human in their life. So yeah, they're definitely here to teach us lessons. It's just a matter of, are you catching the lesson, right? So yeah, are you figuring it out? So that's when you really need to try to figure out, like, what is my pet trying to teach me right now?
I had a friend of mine once time that had a cat, and she had started dating someone, and every time he would come and stay the night at her apartment, the cat would put a mess in the middle of the bed, like right on his area of the bed, because the cat really didn't like the new person coming in. Have you found lots of those stories? Share some of the stories that you have where pets' behaviors are really saying something to us to pay attention to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you say that because usually it's a trust issue. And I know with dogs, they like smell a certain scent and it's like, I don't trust this scent. So yeah, they definitely, will either growl at that person or, just give them like the side eye, if you will, or, just anything to try to get their owner to not be with that person. I've definitely had people that are like, I don't know why he doesn't like my significant other, and then it comes find out later that the person maybe cheated on them or wasn't trustworthy. So yeah, they definitely do things to show us that, but not just in those terms. I actually had a pet once that was the dog was like peeing in the house and it was potty trained, and the woman was like, I don't know what's going on. Went to the vet, couldn't find anything wrong, and here the dog had like seasonal affective disorder, where it was the time change that made the dog pee in the house because he thought that the owner was making it darker when it should be lighter out, and so he was taking it out on the owner in a behavioral way. And so I had to explain to the dog, like, no, this is what happens. We change our clocks back and this is going to happen twice a year. So I had to explain to him. So yeah, it's funny that you never know. You might be thinking their behaviors for one thing, and it could be for something completely different.
Right, that big understanding through pets of really being able to find out what they're thinking. Some I've heard stories where they get attached to certain toys or beds, and then the bed disappears or the toy is gone, and they're like, wait, where's my favorite? Whatever, what did you do with it? Where did it go? Like, they remember things, they sense things, they really do have a personality if you pay attention, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it might look like an old bed to us, like, oh, it's really ratty and I need to get them a new one. But to them, that's like their favorite thing in the world. So, even though it might look dirty or whatever, like they want it, So yeah, if you do that, pay attention, because if their behavior starts to act up, it could be because they're rebelling against you taking their favorite thing away, just like a child that has their favorite toy taken away.
Right, right. I mean, all that stuff of really preparing them. If you think about it, as mothers, when we start to get pregnant to have another child, we can explain to that child, our other children in the house, hey, we're going to have a baby coming in 9 months or 6 months or 5 months. And we can get them kind of prepared for that. But our pets also need to be prepared for that too, right? Or I want to go get a new puppy or a new kitten and we bring it home and there's disaster in the house because we really haven't set it up to prepare them that we're thinking about another pet. It's kind of the same idea, right? Have you found that in your readings as well?
Yeah, I think people think that, well, my pet doesn't speak English and they don't know how to talk. So they think I'm not going to talk to them, but they absolutely know. Like, if you're going on a vacation and you're going to be gone for 10 days, like, start to let your pet know that. They understand what you're saying. So it's really important to have that communication with them, just like you would anyone else in the house, because you might think that they don't understand what's going on, but they definitely understand what you're saying, and it's I don't know how it works, right? Like, I don't know how their little brains can speak English or understand those messages, but our minds want to label it as something, but whatever you want to call it, telepathy, whatever, like they get what's going on. So you definitely want to keep them in the loop with things.
Especially when you start pulling out the suitcase. They learn real quick that what the suitcase means you're going away for a long period of time and they're going to be either alone or with some stranger or taken someplace, right, to be boarded. They get all of that. And there was somebody in my life that when they would go on a trip, their animal, their pet would have this high anxiety, be really restless, do all these crazy things, have accidents in the house. And so they got to the point that they would sit and talk to them. Now, I am going on this trip. You're not going to do this. It will be okay. I am going to come back. It'll be all right. And you think that's silly, but our pets need that communication so that they understand, right, what's happening in the household.
Yeah, and it's not only like I'm going away, but let them know what's going to happen while they're away, right? Like, you're going to so and so's house, you're still going to be fed, you're still going to have water, you're still going to have your bed with you, because they really need to know those details. Just saying you're going away, that scares them. That's going to give them more anxiety. But when you can reassure them, like, it's still going to be okay. I'll be back and you're going to still have your toys. You're still going to have your, you're still going to be let outside. Like, all of those things. They need to hear all of that.
So do you ever communicate with the animals in your yard as well? Not just pets, but the critters that come and travel through our yards. Do you ever find yourself talking to them as well?
Not so much. I live in the city, so I don't really have any animals back there, but and I'm not really, I don't go into nature much because I'm always in the city. But if I am walking my dogs and another dog passes, like, I definitely can feel their energy. I know what those dogs are saying, if I should have my dog near them, if I should cross the street. I can just feel that energy of if they're like friendly or if they just are like, back off, don't leave me alone. So yeah, I can definitely read energies coming from other ones, but yeah, not so much like a stray animal, I guess. But I also haven't tried, so I'm sure I could.
Maybe that's something to try. So this year,
Yeah.
my spirit animal is the squirrel. So I was gifted a squirrel feeder for Christmas and I was very excited. So now we have a squirrel feeder out in our front yard and they're coming in and starting to eat. And so we're gathering more and more squirrels and birds and all kinds of stuff like that around the house. So I'm looking forward to seeing how those relationships between us and them develop. But I also had a pet communicator once say that the bees created a hive close to their front door. And so they went out and talked to the bees and told them, I really need you to move your hive somewhere else so that I don't get hurt, you don't get hurt, nobody gets hurt. I really need you to pick up your community and move it somewhere else, even around to the side of the house or, to the corner, or out in the tree or wherever. But you guys need to go somewhere else. And she goes, they moved. So,
Amazing.
so animal communication can be lots of things. When you really think about it, it can really help with lots of things. So talk to me about your communication as far as mediumship with pets on the other side. What do you find is some of the common messages that you receive from those pets? And how does it help the owners that may have lost a pet even years ago or
Yeah.
soon?
Yeah, the pets, they by far have a very similar message that they don't want the owner to remember them in those last days of their life. Like they want them to remember the memories, they want them to remember that love, and they don't want them to have all of that guilt, of were they in pain? Did I put them down on time? Like should I have waited? Were they in a lot of pain? Like they don't want that to be what's remembered. They definitely want the memories, the love of them being healthy. That's the part that they want to have remembered. And they definitely don't want them to have guilt. A lot of dogs and a lot of pets have said to me that their passing was perfect. It was exactly what they wanted it to be. A lot of times they know that their owner has to make those decisions. And so they trusted their owner in life. They're going to trust them with their death as well. And so I think that's a big message for people to try to eliminate that guilt. We're not used to that, right? Because with humans, you pass on your own time. But when we have to decide whether to put an animal down, it's so much harder because we're not used to that in our society, where they just trust us wholeheartedly and they love us so much that they know that we're looking out for them and we're doing the best that we can do for them.
I love that. I love that. So, talk to us a little bit about some of the things that you offer. If somebody wanted to work with you or contact you, we'll have your website here. But what are some of the things that you offer to people as services or classes or whatever?
Sure, yeah. So, of course, I have the pet readings for any species. They can go to my website to go ahead and book that. And I always recommend to think of questions that you want to ask your pet, because not only are they talking to us, you might have questions about their emotions, their behavior, their health issues. So, you want to think of questions that you want to ask them as well. I also still do the mediumship readings. So if you are trying to communicate with a loved one who has passed away, they can do that on my website also. And then I have a 3-month psychic development mentorship program. It's customized based on your psychic ability that we're finding out that you have in the program. And I'm there for you every step of the way. There's a ton of exercises to do. We meet weekly on Zoom with a group setting so that we can practice exercises with people and you're in that like-minded community, and I'm always there for you to have questions. So I know it's a lot to do on your own, because I tried to do it on my own, but once I found my mentor, I was really able to hone in my abilities. So I love that now I can help others with that. And I also do have a meditation for psychic development on my website for free. If anyone wants to go to the website, they can get the meditation. It also comes along with a psychic starter guide PDF and some other cool things. So yeah, they can check that out as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Brandi, thank you so much for sharing your sacred magic with us and being on the show and spending some time with us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for listening. If you're watching or listening, please make sure you like, comment, follow, share on your channels, whatever is your favorite channel. And we hope to see you really soon in the future. Have a sacred and magical week. And thanks so much for being part of our show.
Thank you for joining us. To find out more about Vialet, head over to discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. You can also send a personal message to Vialet through email, violet@discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. If you love the show, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Until next time, remember, we are meant to have abundant and joyful lives. We hope to see you soon at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.